Welcome to CivilNet. Today our guest is Gerard Chaliand with his new book called Husheris Hushere in Armenian, or in English, Memory of My Memory. Mr. Chaliand is worldwide recognized and respected specialist on guerrilla wars, military strategy and geopolitics. Mr. Chaliand, thank you for coming CivilNet. And my first question, why Husheris Hushere? Why memory of my memory? Why memory your memory?
Well, in fact, everybody has a memory of his memory. That's what you are told when you're a child about the story of the family, about what happened, which you didn't see yourself, but was part of the saga of the family. So, whether I like it or not, I am a heir of the extermination of the Armenians that I've heard when I was a kid while playing on the ground. And the old ladies who were only 50 years old, by the way, but for me they were very old, and they were all mourning about what they had lost, their father, their brothers.
During genocide.
Yeah, genocide, exactly, in 1915. And the story I'm telling you is when I was in 1940. It's only 25 years later. So that was very fresh in their memory, and it went into mine, and that's why I say that's memory of my memory.
Yeah. Mr. Chaliand, in first pages we read that this book is dedicated in memory of my uncle who died fighting and those who resisted and continue to resist everywhere. Do you respect and admire people who resist?
I do. I like fighting people. I think that you've got to have courage. I admire physical courage, intellectual courage, moral courage, and I'm glad that my uncle, who was the Kaymakam in the city of Hajan
in Cilicia,
1920, in Giligia, yes, and I'm glad he was able to sustain a siege of 7 months against the Turkish troops, and that he died arms in hand. I like that. I think that it's a nice way of dying if you have no other choice. I like the idea that Leonidas is also somebody which is respected because he did what he had to do in the Thermopylae. Yeah.
Mr. Chaliand, you have authored more than 70 books. What is your most favorite one and why?
Well, this one and my poems. Those are the two books.
Your poems?
Yes. I have a book of poems which has been published by Gallimard. Gallimard is the greatest and the most important publisher of poets in France. Most of the time when they publish you in that, you're dead. I had the chance to have it non-posthumously 2 years ago. And they have been translated into English also. And that book of poem is very important for me. It's a book which goes from 55 to 2016, 60 years of poetry, and this one. Those are the two books that personally are very important to me, who are the expression of myself.
Mr. Chaliand, you were born in back to 1934 in Brussels.
34, unfortunately.
Yeah.
You make me 10 years younger than I am.
34.
Yes,
Yeah.
34. Yeah.
Yeah. Then you moved to Paris when you were 4 years,
4 years old.
And when you were 18, you moved to Algeria. Why?
Well,
To see what in Algeria, in Africa, in Maghreb?
Well, I choose it by sheer luck. I wanted to live adventure. I wanted to leave the house. In those days, you had to wait 21 years to be completely independent. I was 18, so I left home with just letting a little note saying that I'm going for adventure, don't look for me, it's okay, I'll write you soon. So I went there. I had I don't know, the equivalent of say $25 or $30, and I started to look for work, and I found a lot of different works, all physical, you know, waiter, other things like that. And I survived for 6 months.
In Algeria?
In Algeria, hitchhiking, and discovering that whatever happens, I can always solve the problem. So it's a way of, you know, experiencing what you can do in difficult situations. You sleep anywhere, you always find a way to eat, you always find a job if you are really willing to do it. So it gave me a sort of a complete confidence in myself. Mm-hmm. And after that, I was for a life of adventures. Went hitchhiking to India, went to Guinea, Bissau,
yeah. Mali, then Mali, yeah.
Mali, etc. And then I met some friends who were fighting for independence. This is an era, the 60s.
Fighting for independence in Algeria?
Yes,
yeah.
yes. This is an era of movements of national liberation.
Yeah.
And to me, it was fantastic. I mean, to help those guys for their national liberation. I think that colonialism was over, that it was nice to fight for liberty, etc. So I was a sort of participant observer. I wrote my first books about that kind of experience. I went from one place to another. Black Africa to start, then in Vietnam, in North Vietnam during the US bombing in '67. I was really amazed by the capacity of organization and the resilience of the Vietnamese, tough people who were ready to accept anything but remain absolutely faithful for independence and freedom. So after that, I went with the Palestinians. I was 6 months with Yasser Arafat and Habash and Hawatmeh and others.
Do you speak Arabic?
No. I can understand half a thousand words, you know, the minimum to deal with daily life. But I mean, we spoke in English, essentially, and sometimes in French. Some of them spoke French also. French was more spoken in the 60s and the 70s than now. Then I went also to Israel, which was very interesting also for me, to see that, I mean, unlike what the Palestinians thought, that was a nation. It was a nation. It was not just pieces put together and being hostile among themselves. And
you mentioned Yasser Arafat. You met very well-known other personalities like Che Guevara. Please tell us more about.
Yeah. I met Guevara in Algiers in 1963.
In Algiers.
Yes, I had translated with my wife his book called Guerrilla Warfare, and I gave him a copy of the book. So we had a long interview in a newspaper called African Revolution. Mm-hmm. He was invited by Ben Bella in those days, and he made a big speech about the fact that Algiers was the capital of the revolution in Africa, just like Havana was the capital of the revolution in Latin America, and so on. And then, we had a discussion about the situation in Algeria. He was much more optimistic than personally myself, which I knew that it was, you know, one of those experiences you speak a lot about socialism but don't make a lot of it. And I didn't believe also later on when he said that, well, you start revolutions with the weapons and then you will be followed by the population. That was not true. It worked in Cuba because the US was benevolent, they were neutral. Castro said, we are fighting for bread and liberty. So it's okay, fighting for bread and liberty. 2 years later, when he said, we are Marxist-Leninist, it changed the picture completely. The US was against it. All governments, when a guerrilla started, they knew that they would be overthrown. They fought against it, and most of the time, those guerrillas were not followed by the people because they didn't understand exactly what was going on. You've got to explain to the people. That's the basics of Mao Zedong, you know. You've got to have cadres, you send them in the countryside, they explain to the people why we fight, against whom we fight, what for, etc. So you organize people, and then you can make a revolution. That's possible. Otherwise, you're just a band who is going to be tracked and finally liquidated. That's what happened for Guevara in Bolivia in '67.
Yeah. Gerard Chaliand has been participant observer in various guerrilla conflicts, and I would like just to mention some of them, like Guinea-Bissau, North Vietnam, Colombia, Palestine, Israel, you mentioned, Eritrea, Afghanistan, Iranian Kurdistan, Salvador, Angola, Peru, Philippines, Nagorno-Karabakh, Georgia, South Ossetia, Burma, Kashmir, Sri Lanka, Iraqi Kurdistan, Iraq, Syria. Seems like we have traveled all over the world, yeah?
Yeah, well, I'm...
How many countries? How many territories? How many unrecognized entities you...
Well, let's say I've traveled in about 140 countries.
140?
Yes, 40. I've studied about 70 situations. I've been in 15 guerrillas. And I am, I believe, probably the guy who has seen most of the important guerrillas of the last 60 years. And I'm supposed to be one of the very best specialists. Some people say maybe the best. And I've written books about that. I mean, as a participant observer, I've been teaching at the war school in Paris. I've been in Harvard.
For 5 years?
Yes, Berkeley. I mean, in the US for 5 years, all over, UCLA, etc. I've been teaching in many places. Singapore, Cape Town, Salamanca, Bogota, Tbilisi.
But not Armenia?
Not Armenia.
Why?
Because I've never been invited. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, it's ironic.
I've been invited by the Tbilisi Georgians.
Yeah.
But not by the Armenians. No, I've been invited by the Palestinians. I've been invited by the Vietnamese. I've been invited by South Africa. No.
By the way, in 2010, CivilNet Foundation invited you to Yerevan. And also we together,
Yes.
Also we together we traveled to Nagorno-Karabakh and to Agdam, to line of contact.
That's right.
I remember that trip.
And I was lucky enough to be in Nagorno-Karabakh in '93.
First time.
Yeah, first time. Yes, Yegrod.
Yeah.
Very interesting. I enjoyed it very much. It was a big change from the Armenians of the diaspora. The Armenians of the diaspora, they are sort of in the victimology. See what I mean? And there, with the mountaineers of Nagorno-Karabakh, you had a feeling that you are with warriors who fight for freedom, but at the same time enjoy fighting. And, well, you know, if you fight, you better enjoy it.
In 1982, with other Armenians like Gerard Chaliand, you supported Harair Max Kilijian, who attempted assassination of Turkish ambassador in Switzerland. Can you tell us more about that episode of your life?
Yeah, well, I thought it was very important to testify why that young man tried to assassinate the representative of a state which negates the genocide. I was fortunate enough in those days to be a professor of guerrilla warfare at École Nationale d'Administration, which is the highest school in France, which manufactures sort of the highest functionaries. I mean, most of the President of the Republic and the ministers are from the École Nationale d'Administration. So that gave me a sort of status. And I explained to the jury, I mean, why this advertisement terrorism? Because this was advertisement terrorism. In other words, in the world that we face, you can have a just cause, send memorandums to the United Nations or to the League of Nations, and you're just forgotten. That's all. It's finished. You're no more part of the trend of things. You kill a diplomat, you've got first page. We are in a world which likes emotions, which likes hot news, so it's the only way to bring back something which is forgotten. And I said that this is what happened. I think that it is regrettable that you have to kill a representative of a state, but I mean that state is negating the fact that they have exterminated a whole people. And that's why I would like you to understand that this is not a gesture which is totally inconsiderate, that this is not criminal, it's sort of an act of justice. Thank you very much.
In some way in your book you justified the Armenian revenge, yes, when Armenians in Switzerland, in Paris, in Rome killed Turkish ambassadors, yeah?
I justify the Operation Nemesis. Operation Nemesis went on in 1920, 21, 22.
When Armenian revengers killed
Yes.
Talat, Enver,
and
Cemal Pasha in Tbilisi.
yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Jamal and others. I mean, such as Salim.
Helmi Pasha in Rome.
Exactly, in Rome, etc.
Yeah.
So those people had been condemned in Constantinople, now Istanbul. They had been condemned in absentia.
Yeah.
And of course, they were all in Europe, most of them in Germany, some of them in Italy, etc. And they were hidden. So Operation Nemesis was, okay, nobody wants to make justice, we will do it ourselves. So they went and they killed who they could. They didn't kill enough. They killed maybe 10 of them. And the list was at least 25 people who were really absolutely the organizers of the genocide. So I think, of course, they did very well. By the way, Yerevan, who killed Talat, he was not even considered as guilty. Yeah. He was liberated immediately after the testimony of Lepsius, who was a Protestant pastor, who said, well, look, I've seen everything. I mean, they have really exterminated the people, and this guy has all his family which has been killed. So I can perfectly understand what he did.
Tehlirian during the trial stated that he killed the man, but he is not a murderer.
That's it, exactly. Yeah. Now, your quote is quite correct.
Yeah. Mr. Chaliand, now we have Turkey from Armenia's west, we have Azerbaijan from our east, we have unresolved conflict in Nagorno-Karabakh, and we have Ilham Aliyev, who using every opportunity saying that he will start a new war and he will win the war. What should Armenia and Nagorno-Karabakh do in this situation?
Well, I think that it would be a move, an interesting move, to say that we are ready to give back most of the occupied territory who belong to Azerbaijan, and we will keep Nagorno-Karabakh with Lachin, which is the vital corridor
connecting Armenia and Karabakh.
Exactly. Okay, that would be an interesting move, and we will see if Mr. Aliyev accepts, which I doubt. I don't think he is ready. I think that he plays also. I want everything back. I will crush these people. But I mean, he's demagogic. He knows he cannot crush them because Russia will not let his country attack and crush, with the help of Turkey, Armenia. That's it. It's that the situation is very simple. As long as Russia uses this business of Karabakh to hold at the same time the Armenians on one hand and the Azeris on the other, nothing will change.
What happened in April 2016? I mean, 4-day war?
The 4-day war. Well, Aliyev wanted to show that, you know, I mean, he's ready for war, that he can win it, etc., etc. And after four days, the war stopped because Russia said, come to Moscow. They both, head of state, went to Moscow, and I don't know what Mr. Putin said, but there's one thing sure, they stopped. So that means that when Russia decided that stop, you don't do what you want, you do what I let you want, and that's it. So in other words, the master of the situation in the Caucasus, and we have seen that in 2008 in Georgia, the master of the situation...
5-day war, you mean?
That's right, yeah, is Russia.
During your presentation in French embassy yesterday, you said that Russia is a crucial player in Caucasus and a crucial player in the resolution of Nagorno-Karabakh conflict, taking into consideration the fact that Armenia is a strategic ally or partner of Russia. Is it good for Armenia to be a ally of today's Russia?
First of all, I think that Armenia has no choice.
We have no choice.
Yeah, there is no choice. That's one. And B, it's a fact, whether people like it or not, that the survival of Armenia, militarily speaking, depends on Russia. In other words, Russia is more than an important player. It's a vital player in the Caucasus, and for the Armenians, it's extremely important to have, let's say, the protection of Moscow. That's it.
So what will happen with Armenians and with the Armenian Karabakh when one day Russians leave this territory?
Nobody knows. But I mean, if you would be squeezed between Mr. Aliyev and Mr. Erdogan, good luck.
Mr. Chaliand, is it realistic to expect Armenia-Turkish, not Armenian-Turkish, but Armenia-Turkey, because Armenian-Turkish relation is wider than Armenia-Turkey relations? Is it true? Is it realistic to expect some breakthrough in relations between Armenia and Turkey without Nagorno-Karabakh resolution?
Not with Mr. Erdogan. As long as Mr. Erdogan is the head of the state of Turkey, there is no compromise on this business of Nagorno-Karabakh. He is backing Mr. Aliyev 100%. Apart from that, yeah, there are a lot of people in Turkey who are for the reconciliation, who think that enough is enough, etc. I mean, half of the population maybe, but the other half supports Mr. Erdogan. And he is not the type of man who is going to leave power willingly.
Yeah. And last question, your plans for the future, next country you are going to visit, and next book to publish?
Well, the next book is a book of memory.
Again, memory.
Yeah, yeah. I wrote the first volume of memory in French. That goes from 52 to 79. And the second volume that I've started starts in 80 with the war in Afghanistan, where I was a witness in 80 twice, in 82 again. And then I've been a witness there in 2006, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, etc. So it starts with Afghanistan and so on. That will take me 2 years of work. That's my next, let's say, job. As far as what I'm doing apart from that, I teach in Singapore, a great city with fantastic growth. And I also am a visiting professor teaching political science, international relations, terrorism, etc. in Erbil, Kurdistan.
In Kurdistan,
Yeah.
Iraqi Kurdistan.
Iraqi Kurdistan. That's it.
Gerard Chaliand, thank you.